Efuru by Flora. Chapter 5. Ajanapu took the dead child in her arms and looked at it closely. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Up to the time Ajanapu arrived, Efuru did not know exactly what had happened. Then she saw tears on Ajanapu's cheeks, and she realized that her only child was dead. She threw herself on the floor of the room and wept hysterically. Ogier ran out, put her two hands in both ears and shouted, "Our people, come, come, Ogonim is dead. Ogonim, the only child of Efuru, is dead." Neighbors ran to Efuru's house. Ajanapu was still holding the dead child. Tears were still rolling down her cheeks. Efuru was rolling on the floor. The first woman to arrive took the child from Ajanapu. "Why? She is not dead. Don't you see that her body is warm? She is still alive." Ajanapu hissed, "Give her to me. Don't you see? Have you eyes and you don't see? Don't you see that she is dead?" Ajanapu snatched the dead child from the woman. She put her on her lap and began to look at her as before. "Ogonim, so you have gone. So you refuse to stay with us. You are a foolish child to leave all the wealth and riches for the land of the dead. You are ungrateful for leaving your good mother, a mother who is more than all mothers, a good mother in the real sense of goodness. You saw the wealth, the riches, good home, and you chose the life in the other world. You have not done well, my daughter." Ogier wept in her corner. She went to her mistress and placed her hands on her lap. "Mama, Ogonim has wronged us. Ogonim has not done well. What will you do? What am I going to do? Who am I going to look after? Oh, Ogonim, why did you treat us like this?" Efuru's mother-in-law wept softly at her corner. There were no tears. She was not given to much talk. Throughout her life, she had been to herself a symbol of suffering. These self-imposed sufferings had sobered her. Now nothing excited her. She even found it difficult to produce tears from her eyes. She had shed so many tears that it did not seem as if there were any more tears for her to shed. But watching her in her corner, anybody could see that she was in great grief. Efuru was still rolling on the floor. Sometimes she would take Ogonim from Ajanapu, look at her, shake her head, and hand her back to Ajanapu. She called on the gods to bear witness. She raised her hands and asked the gods and her ancestors where and when she offended them that they should allow her only child to be snatched by death. "Let's not sit down doing nothing," Ajanapu said, getting up from the floor. "Ogonim's father must be sent for, the corpse will be buried, and there are sympathizers to be looked after. Osai, get up and be useful. This is early morning. Go down to the stream and see if there are people going to Ndoni and give them a message for Adizua. Be quick, please. You will find many people going to Ndoni today, being a Kede." But will his wife allow him to come home? Ajanapu thought. Men are such queer people. They are so weak that when they are under the thumb of a woman, she does whatever she likes with them. And that woman, that devil in the form of a woman, she won't allow him to come home and bury his only child. I can see the subtle way she would do it. I can imagine her now saying that she's expecting a baby and pretending to be very ill, and Adizua putting off homecoming every day until it is too late to come home. But why think about this now when there is so much to be done, she thought. Efuru was too tired and confused to be of much use. Ogier held the corpse now. She was still weeping, but this time very softly. She was so grown up now. Ogier, put her down on the bare floor. The floor is cool. and the coolness will preserve the corpse. Now go and get some water from the stream. When you return, leave it at the back of the house, Ajanopu said. When Ogie went to the stream, Ajanopu swept the floor. She carried the bed from the bedroom to the sitting room and spread a beautiful velvet cloth on it. She went to the mud wardrobe and brought out some mats with beautiful designs and spread them on the mud benches for sympathizers.
Now, Efuru, tie your cloth well and come out and sit down in the sitting room. You cannot stay in the room, for you will faint for want of air. Get up, my daughter, and come with me. Ajanopu supported Efuru as she left the bedroom for the sitting room. Now sit at this corner. You will be able to recognize sympathizers when they come. Now be brave about it. Don't weep too much, for you will be ill afterwards. Remember that Ogonim has gone and gone forever. No amount of weeping will bring her back to life. Neighbors and sympathizers were now arriving. Mats were spread outside for them to sit down. Ajanopu went to the back of the house, and there she washed Ogonim thoroughly. Ogie brought out a new dress for the corpse and showed it to Ajanopu. Show it to her mother first, Ajanopu said. When Ogie showed it to Efuru, she shook her head and beckoned Ogie to come nearer. Then Ogie went to the mud wardrobe, the room in a room, very dark both in the day and at night. The mud wardrobe was used for storing valuable things, boxes of clothes, jars, ornaments, iron pots, and jewelry. If the house caught fire, the things in the mud wardrobe would not have been burnt. The top of the mud wardrobe was used as a shelf for other things like mats, cooking pots, soups, boxes, and broom. When policemen came to search for homemade gin, it was hidden away in the mud wardrobe, for policemen did not know there were such things as mud wardrobe. In this wardrobe, Efuru put her most valuable things of all, like the ornaments she had inherited from her mother and rich clothes of different kinds. Ogie entered the mud wardrobe and struggled out with a heavy box. She put it down, opened it, and brought out a dress made of damask material. This is the one Ogonim's mother wants her to wear, she told Ajanopu. Ajanopu took it from her and put it on the dead child. Then she powdered her face and sprinkled some perfume on her. After this, she carried her reverently to the bed which she had already prepared. Then she moved a step backward and surveyed the corpse, the little body lying in state. It was a human being that was full of life only 3 days ago. Now it was a corpse. If it was not buried by the time the sun went down, it would stink and sympathizers would flee from the place. As she looked at the little body, Ajanopu began to weep all over again. You wanted to leave us, and you have left us, so goodbye, my child. Efuru's mother-in-law came in. She was surprised to see that Ajanopu had washed the corpse and dressed it. She tapped Ajanopu on the shoulder. She turned and followed her into the room. I have sent messages through different people going to Ndoni. In 2 days' time, our message will reach Ndoni, and Adizwa should arrive in 4 days' time. That's all right. Let's perform the sacrifices expected of us and let the gods take any blame. You are right, my sister, Efuru's mother-in-law said to her sister. You are perfectly right. We must do our bit so that we are not accused of negligence. Sympathizers poured in great numbers and wept on the feet of Efuru one after the other. The sitting room was full and mats were spread outside for them to sit down. A distant relation of Efuru came and fell on her feet. Efuru, she began very slowly. I am very sorry. I am indeed very sorry. So all your sufferings has come to naught. Efuru, in what ways have you offended our ancestors? What is the reason for this? A child who was more than 2 years old. You were married, and for a long time you did not have a child. Then our gods and the ancestors opened your womb, and you had a baby girl. We all rejoiced with you. A girl is something, though we would have preferred a boy. You looked after your child very well, feeding her and nursing her, and now that only child is dead, and you have suffered for nothing. So you have come to the world to suffer. As if all this is not enough for a child like you to bear, the woman went on. I hear your husband has run away with that worthless woman, the daughter of a bitch. He has left you to bear the burden alone. The world is strange. Adizwa, who was nobody before you married him, Adizwa, whose father roamed the length and breadth of the great river and later on died of a bad disease, and you, the daughter of Nwashiko Ogene, a man of noble parentage, a man who is upright and whose ancestors were upright and just. Leave everything to the gods and our ancestors, my daughter. God will heal your wounds, and our gods will visit Adizwa and the woman who... That will do, Ajanupu shouted from the room. That will do, I say. What nonsense. Wasobi, if you don't know how to sympathize with a woman whose only child has died, say you are sorry and leave her in peace, and don't stay there enumerating all her misfortunes in a tone that suggests that you enjoy these misfortunes. Ajanupu, you are right, said the woman. I have never seen anything like that before. Washobi, don't talk like that anymore. When you go, Efuru will think of all you have said and will be more miserable. The woman was embarrassed. She got up. I am sorry, my daughter. Please pardon me. We are old women and therefore know nothing. Efuru was quiet. She did not say a word to anybody. She did not even hear Nwasobi when she was blabbering like a woman possessed. When the woman said she was sorry, she simply nodded. Ajanupu watched her all the time. She saw that she was thinking very much, and that was bad for her health. And what was more, she was not crying anymore. It was better to shed tears than to restrain them from flowing freely. One feels better after shedding tears, for tears sometimes have a soothing effect. My daughter, Ajanupu said to Efuru, placing her hands on her shoulders. My daughter, please weep. Weep, my daughter. Weeping will do you good. Don't stay like that without weeping. Weep. Let your tears flow freely. If you don't weep, your heart will be injured. I cannot weep anymore, Ajanupu. My grief is the kind of grief that allows no tears. It is a dry grief. Wet grief is better, but I cannot weep. No, my child, try and weep. Tears wash away sorrows. Your burden is made lighter if you weep. Women weep easily, and that is why they do not feel sorrows as keenly as men do. Ajanupu, my daughter, has killed me. Ogonim has killed me. My only child has killed me. Why should I leave? I should be dead too and lie instead beside my daughter. Oh, my Chi, why have you dealt with me in this way? When Efuru said this, tears rolled down her cheeks. That is better, my child. Weep, Ajanupu encouraged. There was a shout from a distance. My people, come and see me, oh. Come round and see my friend Efuru and her only child. I am lost. I am done for. What am I hearing? The shout of this new sympathizer cut through the silence of that serene morning, the morning that brought doom and darkness to Efuru. Who can that be? Ajanupu asked irritatingly. She's not going to say nonsense here like that other woman. The new sympathizer was one of Efuru's friend, the woman who had painted fearsome pictures of nursemaid and had advised Efuru not to have anything to do with them. Efuru, my friend, she said and fell on her feet. Efuru, sorry, I am very sorry. I saw Ogonim hale and hearty only 3 days ago. She and Ogie were returning from Ajanupu's place. She had a banana, and when I asked her to give me the banana, she gave it to me. I thanked her and gave her back the banana, and she smiled at me. It was such a sweet smile. What killed that healthy child? A child whose other name was life itself. How did death get at her? Sorry, my dear friend. Have heart, and don't worry, God knows best. When she finished, she went to the little corpse and began to talk to her. Ogonim, the daughter of my friend, the daughter of Efuru and Adizua, why have you treated my friend in this way? Did we not treat you well? Why have you left us? Where are you going? Is it as good as this place? She got up and went and sat at a corner. A fairly elderly woman got up from her corner and went to Efuru. Efuru, I am going. Nobody owns this world. Death does not know how to kill. Death visits everybody, the rich, the poor, the blind, and the lame. When it visits us, it seems as if our own grief and loss are more than our neighbors. I conceived 8 times. All died before they were 6 months old. The last one was a girl, and when she did not die after 6 months, I killed a white fowl for my chi. I named her Ibiakwa. Have you come again? After a year and she did not die, I called her Nkem, my own. She was a beautiful girl. She shone like the sun and twinkled like the stars in the sky. I never lost sight of her. Then I returned from the market one day and saw that she was shivering with cold. I was afraid. My daughter had a fever. I rubbed cannel oil on her and wrapped her up. In the night, she developed a convulsion and died. Ewo, the people cried. So it happened. Some who knew the woman said, My only child died, the woman went on. The world was in darkness for me. I wept like a human being. I wept like an animal. I threatened to jump into the grave and be buried alive with my only child. But I am still alive today. I have not had another baby since then. Have heart, my daughter. You are still young. It is still morning for you, so have heart. We cannot explain the mysteries of life because we are mere human beings. Only God knows. I am going. That's it, Ajanapu said. That's how to sympathize with a woman who has lost her only child. There are words of wisdom and encouragement. Efuru, you have heard what she said, so please have heart. Efuru nodded in assent. Outside, people talked in whispers. Do you say that he is not home? Said one of the women. Don't you hear? He went to Ndoni with another woman, and since then, he has not come back. His mother has sent for him, but it would take 2 days for the message to get to him. If he comes home immediately, he will be here in 4 days. Poor Efuru, the other said. We all were surprised when she married a fool, and now see how shabbily she has been treated. Do you think she's going to leave him? You mean if Efuru would leave Adizo? Yes. I can't say. Efuru loves him very much, and you know how we women love blindly. If he comes back to Efuru, I think she will forgive him. The problem is not that Efuru would not forgive him. It is that Adizua might not come back to her. It is in the family. Adizua's mother suffered at the hands of her husband just as Efuru is suffering. It is a great pity. When I look at her, she does not know why I am looking at her. She has beauty, wealth, and good breeding. Why should any man treat her like this? Meanwhile, young men in the village were sent to go and dig the grave in the graveyard. Ajanupu was still in control of everything. She went to Efuru and whispered something into her ears. She got up and sympathizers held her on either side. She went to take the last look of her only child. Ajanupu beckoned to the men and they brought in the little coffin. As soon as Ogie saw the coffin, she began to weep again. Please don't put her in that coffin, she wept. Please don't put her in that wretched coffin. Put me instead. Oh, Ogonim, you have killed me. Oh, Ogonim, why did you decide to leave me? Did I not look after you well? In what way did I offend you, Ogonim? You have killed me. Sympathizers hissed and shook their heads. Ogia was led away. Efuru watched the men as they lowered her only child into the coffin. She stood there like a statue with tears running down her cheeks. The men began to nail the lid of the little coffin. Please don't nail it, Ogia shouted from the room as she heard the men's hammer. Please don't nail it. Ogonim is not dead. You know she's not dead. She went nearer. Ogonim will be afraid when she wakes up and sees herself in a coffin. Please don't nail it. Put me in there and nail the coffin. As she was talking in this way, not knowing what she was saying, one of the men carried the coffin on his head and walked away. Others followed him. The mourners rose and went to their respective homes. The men placed the coffin in a canoe, and about 6 of them paddled the canoe to the graveyard where they buried it. Ajanupu went home after telling her sister what to do. That was the first time she had been home since she had been sent for by her sister. She sat down on one of the mud benches in her sitting room, quite exhausted. One of her children came to her and asked her about Ogonim. She has been buried, she told him. So we won't see her again, the child asked. No, we won't see her again. Why did she die, mother? The innocent child asked. We don't know why she died, but we know the cause of her death. Won't she be afraid in the coffin? No, she won't be afraid, my child. She knows not fear now. Now ask Adiewere to give me water and soap. The boy went off. Water and soap were brought to Ajanupu. She washed her hands thoroughly as if she was having a ritual cleansing. Why do you take so long in washing your hands? Ajanupu's child asked. I washed Ogonim's corpse and dressed her before the burial. If I don't wash my hands very well, I shan't forget things easily. Meanwhile, Efuru's age group took her to the stream to have her body thoroughly cleansed after weeping for her dead daughter. Efuru was given a new sponge and new soap, and she scrubbed her body well. While she was washing, one of the members of her age group washed her clothes. Then the head of the age group took her to her house. There she was given something to eat, which she could not manage to eat. She rested there and many sympathizers poured in. Efuru, I was just returning from the farm when I was told about the death of your child. When did Ogonim take ill? What do these young babies mean by treating us in this way? Sorry, have heart. There is God. He understands everything. Towards evening, Efuru was taken home by the members of her age group, who had brought kola nuts, homemade gin, and palm wine for the entertainment of sympathizers. Those who were unable to go to the market brought money. Efuru was well known in the town, and so she had many sympathizers. She herself had given generously to her friends who were bereaved, so these friends also gave to her generously. When sympathizers left Efuru's house, they said good things about Efuru. Good child, they said, a good woman who has good words for everybody. A good woman who greeted you 20 times if she saw you 20 times in a day. A woman with a clean heart and who respects her elders. Please give her strength to bear this heavy loss. 4 days passed and Adizwa did not return. Efuru's mother-in-law had waited for this 4th day with fear and anxiety. She knew that Efuru was a good woman. She knew that her son could not have made a better choice. But she knew also that Efuru's patience could not be tried. Her kind of suffering did not appeal to her. She was not meant to suffer at all. Life for her meant living it fully. She did not want merely to exist. She wanted to live and use the world to her advantage. Efuru's mother-in-law knew also that her daughter-in-law was self-willed. She tolerated Adizwa because she loved him. As days passed and she saw no sign of her son, She began to despair. Did I not say that Adizwa was going to take the footsteps of his father? What have I done to deserve this? Why is everything against me? Have I not sacrificed to my chi and the ancestors? Why do I find no favor in their eyes? She watched her daughter-in-law every day, but she dared not mention Adizwa to her. Efuru, on the other hand, refused to discuss him with anybody. Conversations that could easily have led to the discussion of Adizwa's whereabouts were tactfully avoided. But she waited. She anxiously waited for the day her husband would return. But each day brought her misery and unhappiness. One day, Efuru's father sent for her. The old man had wept when he heard about the death of Ogonim. He could not come because a corpse was taboo for him, so he sent people to represent him. It was now more than a month since Ogonim died, and Efuru's father wanted to know the position of things. After the usual greetings, he asked her, "Have you heard the voice of your husband?" "No, I have not heard." "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. Perhaps I shall continue to wait. I don't know. I have not made up my mind. Once it is made up, there is no coming back." "Well, I thought you heard about him, because some of our people who returned yesterday from the Great River told me they saw him and the woman at Ibocha." "True, so they are there. He is not thinking of coming home. Perhaps you can consider going there yourself." "I shall think about it," Efuru replied. "In case you decide on going, I shall give you some people to go with you, or if you don't want to go yourself, our people will go for you." Efuru thanked her father and went home. She changed her clothes and went to the stream. Ajanapu came while she was away, feeling angry with everybody. "Where is Osai?" she asked Ogier roughly. Ogier, who dreaded her after the broken pot episode, moved a step backwards, opened her mouth, and closed it again without saying a word. "Where is Osai, you timid child? Haven't your bush ways left you yet? You came here bush, you want to live here bush. Good for nothing girl, where is Osai?" Osai heard Ajanapu from within and came out. "What is the matter? Why are you quarreling?" Osai asked. "Who is quarreling with whom?" "Who am I quarreling with? With Ogier? With Ogier? Sometimes, Osai, you need someone to talk to you seriously. You want someone to be downright frank, brutally frank with you." Osai had always been a good younger sister. She was not impudent as younger sisters sometimes are. She did not have that fighting spirit which Ajanapu possessed in abundance. So when her misfortune came, instead of fighting against it as Ajanapu would have done, she succumbed to it. She surrendered everything to fate. Ajanapu would have interfered with fate. She would have played her own tune and invited fate to dance to it. Not Osai. When Ajanapu and her mother wanted her to do something after her husband had left her, she did nothing. She merely folded her hands and waited for her truant husband to come back to her. On this occasion, Osai said nothing. That was her way. She let Ajanapu talk, and Ajanapu used this silence to her own ends. "Didn't my mother and I tell you to leave that wretched husband of yours? You would have married a better husband and had children. Instead, you remained in your husband's house and shut yourself out from the world. You wanted to be called a good wife when you were eating sand, good wife when you were eating nails. That was the kind of goodness that appealed to you. How could you be suffering for a person who did not appreciate your suffering, the person who despised you? It was not virtue, it was plain stupidity. You merely wanted to suffer for the fun of it, as if there was any virtue in suffering for a worthless man." Osai said nothing. She simply let Ajanapu talk. "And now," Ajanapu went on, "your son, where is he now? Your son who was married to such a woman. Let me tell you the truth, for it is when you are angry that you say the truth." I was one of those people who wondered what Efuru saw in that son of yours. I did not say anything then. I was up in arms against those who criticized the marriage because Adizwa was my sister's son, and not because he was a good match for Efuru. Now, your son, instead of settling down with Efuru and working hard to rebuild the family which your husband left in such a mess, did exactly what his father did. This time, your son ran away with a woman who had left her husband, and you stay here doing nothing. You stay here watching that innocent woman pining away. Why don't you go in search of your son? Ajanupu raised her voice. Why don't you, as you went in search of your husband many years ago? You are the cause of your child's bad ways. You never scolded him because he was an only child. You delightfully spoiled him and failed to make him responsible. You failed to make him stand on his own, so that now he leans on these rich women, not because he loves them, but because they are rich. And here is Efuru. She is suffering. She is taking it well now, but I tell you, there is a limit to human endurance. She is not meant to suffer. She will leave your son if nothing is done, and done very quickly. You can't even see it. You have eyes but don't see. I tell you, she will leave your son. This is where it has been written. As she said this, she drew a line on the mud wall. Osai said nothing. It was no use, but she was thinking deeply. Then she heard Ajanupu shout at Ogia, "Where is Efuru?" She went to the stream. Ogia answered immediately. Her inability to answer at once before had been disastrous for her. "Why don't you allow me to finish before you answer, you goat?" "When did she go, and won't she return? Did she go to Oseru that she cannot return soon? Give me a mat to sit down, I shall wait for her." Ogie brought a mat and spread it on the mud bench in the sitting room. Ajanupu sat down and stretched her legs in front of her. Then she crossed them. She waited. Sometimes she folded her arms on her bosom, and at other times she left them between her thighs. "Ogie," she shouted, "give me some water to drink." Ogie washed a glass and filled it with water from the water pot and gave it to Ajanupu. She looked at the glass for some time, and when she was satisfied, she began to drink. She drank all the water. "Shall I bring you cola?" Ogie asked Ajanupu. She was feeling more confident in herself now. "You have cola?" "Yes, we have cola. Shall I bring it?" "All right." Ogie brought a big piece from the bowl where Efuru put her cola. She also brought a knife for the cola. Ajanupu broke the cola and ate a piece, then tied the other pieces at one end of her wrapper and got up. "Ogie," she called, "tell Efuru when she comes back that I waited for her a long time, but she did not return from the stream. Tell her I want to see her today. Let nothing prevent her from coming to see me today. And that, now listen, I have not finished. Where are you going? You children, why can't you stand still for a while? Now don't forget, if you like, stay there and continue nodding like a lizard. If you forget, I shall crack your head." "Osai, are you there?" Ajanupu called her sister. "I am going. Ogie offered me some cola. Thank you." That evening, Efuru went to Ajanupu's house. Ajanupu asked her to come into the bedroom. "Ogie is learning, so she remembered to tell," Ajanupu said. "Oh yes, she told me you wanted to see me. Ogie does try. You know she was very raw when she came. What do you expect from a girl who had lived all her life in the farm? I am glad she is improving. Knock out all those crude farm ways out of her." "Yes, I am trying. It is a difficult task, but Ogie is responsive. She is willing to learn." "That's good." "Efuru, I came to see you yesterday," Ajanupu began unnecessarily. "I came to see you and was told you went to the stream. Then I waited and waited, but oh, who is making her cry? Who is making her cry again? Did they say that if one has children, one should not have a moment's rest? Bring her to me." The weeping girl was brought to Ajanupu by one of her children. "Who has been making you cry?" Ajanupu asked fondly. The little child pointed at one of her brothers and tried to say in a child's language that her brother wanted to take her yam from her. Never mind Ifeanyi. Yes, I know him. He tried to take your yam from you. Never mind. Clean your eyes. I shall deal with him. Eat your yam. The child stopped crying and began to eat what was left. She did not eat for long when she fell asleep. Who is there? Ajanapu called. Ifeanyi answered. Ifeanyi, come and take your sister to the room. She has fallen asleep. Ifeanyi came and carried his sister to bed. She was still holding the piece of yam in her hands when Ifeanyi put her down on the mat and wanted to take the yam from her. She held it tight and showed her resentment by crying again. I know you want to take her piece of yam, Ajanapu shouted. Leave her to sleep, Ifeanyi. When she is fast asleep, the yam will fall from her hand. As I was saying, Ajanapu said to Efuru, I came to see you yesterday, and Ogie told me that you went to the stream. I want. Mother, you see what Nnoro is doing. You see what Nnoro is doing. Oh, these children, what is Nnoro doing? Nnoro is licking the soup in the pot. Is that true, Nnoro? The child did not answer. Go and get me a good whip, she told her son. As I was saying, Ajanapu began again. Have you heard the voice of your husband? No, I have heard nothing. What do you intend to do? I don't know yet, honestly. I do not know. I hope you understand the part I am playing in this your marriage with Adizua. Osai, your mother-in-law, is my younger sister. She is my only sister. If you leave things to her, nothing will be done. She does not seem to know her duty. That's why she says nothing to you. But she is very sorry, genuinely sorry. A young beautiful woman like you cannot sit down with folded hands and wait indefinitely for a husband who ran away with another woman. A husband who did not think it fit to come and bury an only child. This is 6 months since Ogonim died and about 8 months since Adizua went to the great river to trade. Tell me, what do you want to do? Efuru's eyes were filled with tears. She wanted to speak, but she was choked. She felt so dry inside. She battled and gained her self-control. My father called me the other day and asked me whether I have heard from Adizua. He then went on to tell me that he heard that he is at Ibocha with the woman. He said he was going to send people with me to go in search of him, or if I wanted, he could send people to go and look for him. I have not decided on what to do yet. After the talk with my father, somebody told my mother-in-law and me that he saw Adizua with a woman at Ibocha. He told him about the death of Ogonim. He was sorry and said he was coming home immediately. This happened about a month ago. I am glad that the message reached him. I am quite sure that that was not the first time that message reached him. What do you want to do then? I don't know. I have not made up my mind yet. You know that I am proud of you. You are a good woman. There is no woman like you. Your mother-in-law knows this very well, though she does not show it. It is a pity that this has befallen you, but don't worry. It will be alright. By the power of God, it will be alright. Adizua has wronged you. You have been rough-handled, but don't worry. Give Adizua 1 year, just a year, and if he does not come back to you, and you have an offer of marriage from another man with a good background and wealth, leave him and marry the man. Wait for a year, just a year. After a year, and you marry again, nobody in this world will raise an accusing finger at you and say you have not done well. Efuru left Ajanapu's house that day, feeling somewhat better. She would wait for a year, and if Adizua did not come back to her, then she would leave him. She went about her business as usual. Each time she remembered her dead daughter, she locked herself up and wept. One day, she returned from the market, had her bath, and just as she was about to go to collect her debts from someone, Ogie told her that somebody had come to see her. Efuru came out and greeted the visitor in her usual pleasant way. She had known him before, as they were in the same age group. As young girls and boys, they had danced together. She remembered vividly one encounter she had with this man. Years ago, both the men's and the women's section of their age group were invited by the head of the men's section to a dance and drinks. It was near their festival and they had been working hard rehearsing their dance. As they were going home from the party, someone walked up to her and seized her hands roughly and said, "Why are you so proud? Why don't you greet people? Don't you know you are a small girl?" Efuru was afraid. She tried to free her hand from the strong grip of the rough boy. "You can't get free. If you like, you can struggle till tomorrow morning." There were all the boys there and a few girls. The girls shouted at the rough boy to leave Efuru alone because she did not do him any wrong and because Efuru was a harmless girl. They could not do anything because they were afraid of the boy. Then, out of the blue, a rather tough boy emerged from the crowd and spoke roughly to the boy who held Efuru's hand. "I say, leave or you'll regret it," the tough boy said. "Learn to greet people, you proud girl," the rough boy said. Before Efuru knew what was happening, he had snatched her hair tie from her head and run away. Efuru wept bitterly. She begged the tough boy to run after him and get her head tie, because if she went home without it, her mother would be so angry with her that she would not allow her to go to any more dances. The tough boy ran after the boy and recovered Efuru's head tie. He gave it to Efuru and she thanked him very much and went home. This tough boy was Efuru's visitor. So when this man visited her that evening, the whole incident came to her mind's eye again. She hadn't seen the man for years because the man's parents decided to send him to school when he was over 16 years old. So he could not join his age group to dance and to have their parties because the church frowned at such associations. The church regarded it as pagan to continue dancing with your age group when you were in school. When your parents sent you to school, you automatically became a Christian. Many parents would have been shocked to be told that some non-Christian parents in other lands especially requested the school authorities not to teach their children the articles of the faith and the Bible. The boy reached up to standard 5, but could not go further for lack of funds. He had no influential relatives, so it was not possible for him to secure a job in the township. So with the help of his parents and a handful of relatives, he got a few pounds and started a small trade. He started dealing in cigarettes, and when he made headway, he soon owned a fairly large stall in the market. He was still unmarried, which was strange. Efuru brought kola nuts and a bottle of homemade gin. "Who will break the kola?" Efuru asked, laughing. "I will, of course," said Gilbert, for that was his name. He was baptized when he started school and was given this name. Nobody called him by his beautiful pagan name, which was Eneberi. He took offense when you called him Eneberi, and if you were a friend, he would tell you politely that his name was Gilbert and he wished to be called that. "How old are you that you should break the kola?" Efuru asked, still laughing. "You are only a child of yesterday," Gilbert said. "I am older than you are. Don't talk abomination. That we are in the same age group does not mean that we are the same age. Besides, I am a man and you cannot break kola in my presence." Gilbert was already breaking the kola as he said this. When he finished, he took one and passed the small plate to Efuru, who took one. Then she brought out a small glass. Gilbert filled it and drank it in one gulp. "This is a good gin," he said. "Who cooks it?" "Nwabozo cooks gin in the farm." "Nwabozo Eneke?" Gilbert asked. "Yes, Nwabozo Eneke. Do you know her?" "I don't know her in person, but I heard the police raided her hut in the farm but saw nothing." "Thank God they did not see anything. These policemen want us to starve." "Oh, I am happy they saw nothing. Nwabozo owes me plenty of money, and if the police had seen the gin, they would have seized everything and she wouldn't be able to pay me what she owes me." But how do these policemen know the people who cook gin? I don't really know, but I will tell you how Mabuza's hut was raided. 2 men visited her on one Afo day. They asked her to sell gin to them. She agreed and got them a bottle. She cooked it only a day before. The 2 men drank a ganache each, then 2 and 3. Their behavior was a bit odd to Mabuza, who had never seen them before. So that night, she got a canoe, and with the help of neighbors, she put all her gin in the canoe. All the stuff she could not remove, she destroyed and set for the town. If she had not acted quickly, she would have been caught. For the next day, the very next day, policemen raided her hut. She was not there, and the police could not see anything. Serves the police right, Efuru said happily. Why the government does not allow us to drink our homemade gin, I do not know. The government is strange. Does it not know that it cannot stop us from cooking gin, that our people will continue to go to jail instead of giving it up completely? If they must stop us from cooking gin, then the white man's gin and his schnapps should be sold cheap. We sell our own gin 2 shillings or sometimes 2 shillings and 6 pence a bottle, and they sell their gin and schnapps for many shillings. It will not stop, Gilbert said. Even those who are caught in the trade and go to jail often come back after their term of imprisonment, determined to pursue the trade with all their might. Nothing stops them from trading in it. You have not had some, Gilbert said to Efuru. Here is the ganache, have some. No, I don't drink it. It is too strong for me. I only drink our palm wine, the very sweet one that is undiluted. That's the one I drink. Gilbert helped himself to another ganache and got up. I am going. I just thought I should come and see you today. Oh, so you are going. You sound very grown up. Do you remember your rascally ways when we were children? Gilbert laughed shyly. Thank you, Eneberi. You did well to come and see me today. All right, go well. When Gilbert left, Efuru saw that it was late to go to the woman who owed her some money, so she went to Ajanupu instead. I was just thinking of you now when you came, Ajanupu said to Efuru. Efuru smiled. Sit down here. Ajanupu made room for her and she sat beside her on the mat. I have just returned from the market. You know Odikama is still owing me. The debt is more than 2 years old now. How much does she owe you? Ajanupu asked. She owes me £5. It was £10, but she has paid £5. What did she say today? What will she say? She begged me as usual and said I should come next month when she shall have returned from Agbo. I would like to go to Agbo myself. What trade is going on there now? Asked Ajanupu. I hear yam is good there. A couple returned last week, and when they finished selling their yams, they went again the next day. The problem now is that I have not got a good person to go with me. Can you recommend anybody? Odikama is good. She is very serviceable. She does not know the trade, but you want a companion, someone you will talk to and who will help you paddle the canoe. If you like, I shall ask her. When Efuru went home, Ajanupu could not help admiring her character. She is a woman among women. I like the way she is carrying her burden. She still loves that imbecile husband of hers, and she is going in search of him.